On the anniversary of the September 11th tragedy, city officials held a news conference to review Chicago's security plans. Here are highlights from the event on Chicago Works.
As we come together on the 8th anniversary of September 11th attacks, it is appropriate time to review all of our ongoing efforts to make sure that Chicago is as safe and prepared as any other city can be. So I've assembled the heads of a number of critical departments to provide our residents with an update on the state of the city's security preparedness. First, I want to remind everyone again that the safety and security of the people of Chicago has been a top priority since long before September 11, 2001. When our Emergency Communications Center opened in 1995, it was considered the most advanced in the nation. It still is. And thanks to continuing upgrades that incorporate the most advanced technology. We know that one of our fundamental responsibilities is to keep Chicago secure during these uncertain times and to be fully prepared to manage emergency situations. We all do this by working constantly and closely with our federal government, state, regional agencies to use the state-of-the-art technology and strategies to stay ahead of potential threats posted increasingly by sophisticated terrorist groups. For example, in the coming weeks, OEMC will host its second regional emergency management conference, in which local, county, state, and federal organizations will come together to discuss our capabilities to respond to a terrorist attack and to actually drill on our plans. The first conference was held in July. It was the first of its kind. It is one of the many exercises that take place throughout the year, a good example of the kind of continuing partnership that help us prepare to deal with any type of emergency. We are proud of the fact that when it comes to emergency preparedness, Chicago has a history of innovation and leadership. It is our responsibility to provide the police and fire departments with up-to-date facilities, equipment that make use of the most advanced technology to address emergency preparedness and security. We've been a world leader installing security and safety cameras throughout our city, both as a deterrent to terrorism as well as to address the challenge of gangs, guns, and drugs. Just 3 months ago, we completed the first phase of a project to extend security cameras coverage along the lakefront waterways with the installation of cameras at Navy Pier. This was done with the support of the federal grant designed to help us improve our ability to prevent, respond to, and recover from a terrorist incident along the lakefront or the Chicago River. At OEMC, also with the support of federal grant, we recently upgraded our computer-aided dispatch system, which coordinates the city's delivery of police, fire, and emergency services resources to 911 calls. And OEMC and the fire department are also involved in an exciting partnership with Columbia College to develop virtually reality software that simulates a high-rise fire that would be used by high-rise residents and businesses to prepare for such an emergency. We'll be telling you more about that soon. The Chicago Fire Department has recently added the latest tool available to be able to analyze on scene the nature of compounds, materials found at hazardous locations. It is basically a mobile hazardous material lab that will allow our personnel to collect, isolate, and analyze material without ever breaking contamination, which is critical to keeping our first responders and the general public safe. The unit is parked outside the hotel this morning. We'll invite you to take a look at it after the news conference, and John Brooks will make that tour for you. Given the history of terrorism at world airports, the Department of Aviation continues its efforts to make sure O'Hare and Midway are as safe and secure as they can be. Right now at O'Hare, we are testing a cutting-edge technology developed in the private sector in the form of stationary mobile cameras that detect anything found on the airfield or airport grounds that might be too small to see with a visual inspection, but that might pose a safety issue. But technology is only a tool. It cannot solve all of our problems by itself. City security, neighborhood safety, or any other area of concern. We need and are fortunate to have dedicated, hardworking police and fire officers, as well as workers of the Office of Emergency Management and Communication. To support them fully, we remain committed to investing in training and education, as well as taking advantage of the opportunities for federal funding to support our security efforts. For example, under the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, We have recently received more than $29 million that will be used in several important ways to make our city safer. With the funding, we'll be able to hire 50 new police officers for a 3-year period to upgrade training in the area of transit security, to hire 12 more officers to improve transit security, and to replace and upgrade law enforcement vehicles. We are working closely with the Federal Transportation Security Administration, TSA, to help us keep our transit system safe. On high traffic and special event days, the TSA Special Response Team ride the trains and patrol the stations to supplement local personnel. It creates a visible presence to detect and deter any threats, and it makes people feel much safer. Those teams are working today. As our thoughts turn to September 11, 2001, we naturally think about the safety and security of our city. But starting today, there is no other important thing to think about as we remember the terrible events of 8 years ago. That's the idea of national service and volunteerism. What better way there could be to honor those who died at the World Trade Center and those who risked their lives to help the people who were there than rededicating ourselves to the idea of helping others. This year, Congress passed, the President signed into law the Edward M. Kennedy Service American Act, which for the first time includes federal authorization to establish September 11th as an annually recognized National Day of Service and Remembrance. This week, I introduced and the City Council passed a resolution in support of the Serve America Act. Yesterday, I was in New York City, where I joined with other mayors from around the world, with Mayor Bloomberg, to establish a program called the Cities of Service, which is aimed at bringing new energy and new ideas to service movement and encouraging people to volunteer. Leslie Bloom from Chicago Cares was with me to explain that program in New York to other mayors, how Chicago Cares has been one of the excellent organizations since about 1991 in regards to getting volunteers in our city, both individually and collectively in corporations and not-for-profits, about service into the city of Chicago. And also all those people that serve on boards and commissions, all those that are involved in CAPS and library and local school councils, all those people involved in block clubs and community organizations are really service people of helping one another. People often ask me how they can become involved in making a difference to make Chicago a better place to live for everyone. I always point out the numerous volunteer projects the city supports that have a direct and positive impact upon our children, our families, and our entire communities. We rely on the private sector, the not-for-profits, and of course the community groups to help provide residents with opportunities to other. And much of the progress that our city has made over many, many years has been possible because so many people have pride in their family, in their block, in their community, in their city, and are fully engaged in our goal of improving the quality of life for every resident of our great city. In our city, we are pleased to have a good record of volunteerism. And for example, and I talked about it a little earlier, the top volunteer organization we work with is Chicago Cares. Now think of this, manages and leads 200 original group volunteer projects each month, serving our children, adults, seniors, environment, hunger, and homeless, and many more other projects. This organization provides an innovative format that gives people an opportunity to work on projects on a flexible basis, which has attracted thousands of active volunteers here in Chicago. Today, for example, on this National Day of Service, Chicago Cares has organized a number of volunteer events around our city, including community gardening, distributing used clothes, cooking, and packing and distributing food. This type of work sends a powerful message, people helping people to make our city a better place to live, work, and raise a family. It's a message Chicago Cares and many other organizations carry every day of the year in our city. We need more people to hear about it. Volunteering is a great way to show pride and enthusiasm for our city. It gives something back at the same time. And honestly, it's a great way to honor the memory of the victims and heroes of 9/11. So today, I urge all Chicagoans to make our city a better place for everyone by volunteering. Maybe not today, but this weekend or sometime during the year. Every hour that a person gives to the community truly makes a difference. And when people work together, great things do happen. Thank you. At this time, Executive Director, OEMC, Ray Orozco. Ray.
Everyone standing here today constantly plans for the safety and preparedness of this great city. Planning for emergencies cannot be the effort of just one agency. Instead, it requires comprehensive, insistent approach at all levels. And that is why Mayor Daley has gathered us here today to share with the public some of the new comprehensive initiatives we have in place to help keep Chicago safe. As we share our initiatives, it is important for the residents to keep in mind that they too play a critical role in the preparedness effort. First, the easiest way for Chicagoans to get involved is by signing up for Notify Chicago. It's very simple. Visit the website, www.notifychicago.org. It's a free service, and it provides telephone messages, text messages, and email alerts that deal with critical weather conditions, emergency incidents that occur within the city, and traffic incidents. This month, the Office of Emergency Management Communication has partnered with the United States Department of Homeland Security READY campaign to air radio and public television service announcements highlighting preparedness steps. The OEMC has distributed over 1,000 DVDs to Chicago public schools that address preparedness. We have also provided city colleges, areas, universities, and the CAPS program with information that speaks specifically about emergency preparedness and the importance of making a plan. The OEMC has just implemented a new and initiative camera program that allows call takers and dispatchers to view camera images from the location of a 911 call. This initiative allows our call takers and dispatchers to see an emergency incident as it occurs and provide real-time intelligence to the first responders as the incident unfolds. In addition, the City of Chicago has teamed up with our private sector partners to bring back their cameras to the Office of Emergency Management and Communication to further enhance our robust system. The OEMC, in coordination with FEMA Region 5, hosted various first responders and emergency managers from Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin to participate in the Regional Catastrophic Planning Summit. We felt this was important to host because we all know that disasters do not follow specific geographic boundaries. And it is critical that we work together as a region to plan and coordinate our efforts for a large-scale event. Strategy and tactical planning must be exercised, and that is why the OEMC has also scheduled several large-scale exercises. First, we conducted a multi-agency, multi-jurisdiction exercise that included injects from mass transit, and the next steps will be to include a full-scale regional exercise to test our capabilities. The interaction with our partners will validate our efforts and show us where we need to refine and focus our efforts on becoming more proficient at responding to various types of incidents. These are just a few of the training initiatives that have taken place and will continue to take place throughout the year. But it is only when we work together that we can truly make Chicago as safe and prepared as any big city can be. Thank you.
Superintendent Chicago Police Jody Weiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Ray. The horrific events of September 11, 2001 have added a new dimension to law enforcement and policing in America. If there was a silver lining to that dark cloud, it brought a lot of law enforcement at all levels, state, federal, and local, together to ensure that we have the highest level of preparedness as we continue our fight against acts of terrorism. Of course, we all work toward the same goal, and that is prevention. Our Counterterrorism Division's Deployment Operations Center, our Fusion Center, works closely with the Joint Terrorism Task Force with developing strategies, monitoring global events and intelligence 24 hours a day, and incorporating the latest and best practices into counterterrorism equipment, training, and technology into our daily operations. Our data management system, called Community and Law Enforcement Analysis and Reporting, or CLEAR, has been instrumental in contributing to operational readiness, intelligence gathering, and target hardening by providing access to real-time data from multiple sources. In the event that we become targeted for a terrorist attack, local law enforcement, along with our partners in fire, would likely be the first responders. It is for this reason that we remain dedicated to ensuring that our officers have all the necessary tools and the training to respond to a terrorist event or act of violence. Nearly all sworn members of the Chicago Police Department, keep in mind more than 13,000 officers, have completed a 40-hour course of study with the department's Terrorism Awareness and Response Academy, or TARA. Officers will also be required to participate in an advanced TARA training session, which is anticipated to begin early next year. In addition, sworn members also have received training in the National Incident Management System core curriculum. In cooperation with the Office of Emergency Management and Communications, the department conducts terrorism training exercises at locations throughout the city to hone the skills and to ensure that we are always in a ready state. Just last month, the Chicago Police Department, the Chicago FBI, and the FBI's elite hostage rescue team did a maritime exercise to test terrorism prevention on the high seas. The department is a member of the Illinois Law Enforcement Alarm System, whose mission is to meet the needs of law enforcement agencies throughout the state in matters of mutual aid, working in a partnership to ensure that we have the capability of emergency response and the combination of resources that will ensure our public safety. These are just a few of the initiatives highlighting our efforts to keep our city safe. We will not become lax in the fight against terrorism. The acts of September 11th have no doubt forged a renewed sense of patriotism, pride, and determination in all of us. To that end, we remain steadfast in our commitment to the citizens of this great city and to the safety and preparedness of all of our officers. Thank you.
Thank you. The Commissioner of the Chicago Fire Department, John Brooks. John.
Thanks, Mayor. Good morning. Thanks for remembering 9/11, something kind of dear to all of us. The fire department is always looking to increase our ability to respond, investigate, mitigate any situation that may occur in and around our city. Among the most important things we can do in the face of what might be a chemical, radiological, or biological attack is to identify the threat correctly and take the required actions quickly but efficiently. But in the past, this has meant relying on identification systems that worked on a very broad spectrum to determine at a quick glance the overall danger of a compound. Such quick look techniques have their place, but we need to be a little more specific. But this is often the leads to false positives, not correct diagnosis of a product, actions being generalized. But we will keep the resources in place or cause pressure to evacuate or otherwise respond to what may be not a threat at all. You know, we'll keep things in place or don't call out the right equipment because we don't know specifically what it is. So this new product that we have, which is a mobile lab, it's a little more specific, gives us direct identification of what we're trying to mitigate. At the other end of the scale, getting samples of suspected materials may put first responders at some risk, despite the availability of the isolation suits or the protection suits that we have. The Chicago Fire Department now has a unit that addresses both these concerns and many others. The mayor mentioned it. It's right outside the door as we complete our press conference. It is our mobile laboratory unit. We're among the first major city to have such a vehicle at our disposal, and it contains several features that may make it invaluable in detection and mitigation of a wide variety of situations. First, it contains a robot, mechanical robot, that can be sent to remove samples of any suspected product, so more protection for the first responders. That sample can be brought into a lab's clean room, placed in an isolation chamber that allows technicians to handle, analyze the substance in complete safety with triple isolation. That means there's 3 different barriers for the first responders. This unit is not intended to replace a state lab, which we still use and call out if we need, which has extremely detailed analysis techniques, but does not produce a more reliable determination of what is being dealt within quick time. We'll have a unit in place, so that means real time, quickly available, access 24 hours a day for us. This can allow us to go with a full-scale evacuation and mitigation, knowing that we have a true emergency, no false positives. We can also give an all clear just as quickly, get businesses back in service, keep our production running. The lab is part of a 2-vehicle system. The other unit is a strategic planning unit. It goes in tandem, so if we have a product, we go right into the other unit, get all the other resources involved, whether it's state or city. It's a command unit which allows a plan to carry out anything that we need to further mitigate this incident. The lab was paid for by federal dollars, so it's through our UASI program, and it's here for service in the city or anywhere in the region. Thank you.
Richard Rodriguez, President, Chicago Transit Authority. Rich.
Thank you, Mayor. As the second largest transit agency in the nation, CTA continually examines ways to enhance measures for the safety and security of our customers. We focus on three key areas: infrastructure improvements, emergency communications and coordination, and operational security. We revise and update our procedures as new information, resources, and technologies are available. We also work in close cooperation with city, state, and federal officials. In recent years, the Transportation Security Administration has provided additional resources in the form of what's called Visible Intermodal Prevention and Response, or VIPER teams. They're deployed at airports and on public transit. They provide a random, unannounced, highly visible supplemental security presence. They're deployed today across our entire system, as they have been on several other occasions this year. The latest infrastructure initiative to combat crime and deter terrorism is the installation of high-resolution digital security cameras. Grant funding from the Department of Homeland Security will be used to equip all 144 CTA rail stations by 2011. Work associated with the first phase of this three-phase initiative has already begun. By the end of this year, 17 Green Line stations will be equipped with the new security cameras. The second phase of this program includes the installation of security cameras at 12 Red Line stations and the addition of high-resolution cameras capable of capturing facial details and other fine distinctions at all station entrances. Finally, we remind our employees and customers that vigilance and awareness of their surroundings is an important part of safety efforts. Car cards and digital message boards will constantly remind passengers, if you see something, say something. Lastly, we encourage riders to report any suspicious activities that they observe. As always, we continue to keep Chicago safe and moving. Thank you.
As we point out, this is a day of volunteerism, and I talked earlier about Chicago Cares, and thank Leslie Boone, the founder, a number of years ago, in 1991 or 92, was founded here to provide volunteerism on behalf of the corporate community and other individuals who wanted to give back. And this organization has grown tremendously, not just on one day, but continual efforts of working with people on all different issues in the community. And to see the faces of volunteers on a daily basis or major events, Senator, now President Obama has been there, Dick Durbin, other elected officials and corporate leaders, and to see the enthusiasm that people have about volunteerism. And I would hope that the media would interview both Leslie or Scott in order to entice more and more people to join Chicago Cares, because at the meeting yesterday, I was very proud of it, because other cities had many, many things, but when you get volunteers, you have to make sure, as Leslie pointed out to me, that they're satisfied. It isn't just doing one thing, and maybe it wasn't acceptable to them. Maybe they want to do something else, and this organization is very flexible. And the executive director, Scott Lorenz, who has done a tremendous job in that flexibility, so people are satisfied about doing things in the community. At this time, I'd like to have Scott come up and say a few words and talk about Chicago Cares. Thank you, Scott, on behalf of the city of Chicago and all the people you serve.
Well, thank you, Mayor Daley. Well, again, thank you, Mayor Daley, for the opportunity to be here this morning. As Mayor pointed out, Chicago Cares is the largest volunteer organization in the city of Chicago, and we are committed to building stronger communities in every community throughout the city of Chicago through over 200 monthly group volunteer projects and also our large days of service. We host the largest single day of service, the annual Chicago Cares Serve-a-thon, and we also host the largest day of service in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. At Chicago Cares, we are very grateful for the ongoing and significant support of Mayor Daley. He's been a supporter of our organization since our founding, and it's incredibly inspiring for us in our movement that he has such a steadfast commitment to the power of volunteerism and the place of volunteer service in our community. As the mayor stated earlier this year, the Kennedy Serve America Act, in honor of the late Senator Edward Kennedy, was passed into law and was passed with strong bipartisan support. In this act, 9/11 was declared a National Day of Service and Remembrance to honor both the victims and the heroes of 9/11 and the many that stepped forward to help in so many different ways. And it is encouraging Americans in all walks of life to take this day as a day to honor those victims and heroes, but also to come out and serve in their communities. In Chicago, volunteering is a deep part of our fabric. Part of what indeed makes Chicago the city that works is our collective civic spirit to tackle the significant challenges that we face as an urban environment. And we tackle them through the help of volunteering. In fact, in a recent study by the Corporation for National Community Service out of Washington, D.C., Chicago had the largest percentage of volunteering among its population of the three major cities. So we were above New York and Los Angeles by a notable amount. But we'd like to remind everybody that there's still plenty of room to grow. And indeed, the challenges of today and the challenges facing our communities demand it. Today, we're calling on Chicagoans of all walks of life, of all ages, and from communities throughout our great city to volunteer in their community. But as the mayor said, not only on September 11th, but throughout the coming year, and to make a pledge and to make sure that you honor that pledge by volunteering in some way. There is much to do and so much that we can accomplish together. You can become a tutor or a mentor at your local school. You can volunteer at a local food pantry. You can turn a vacant lot into a pleasant and beautiful green space into a neighborhood. We can serve meals at homeless shelters, and we can also provide companionship to our seniors living in isolation. As we recall the events in the times of 9/11, perhaps one of the positive outcomes of this national tragedy was that it indeed brought us all together as a nation. And we believe that by volunteering today, we become closer as a community. We look out for one another, and we support each other, and we look out for our neighbor in need. Volunteering truly brings out the best in each of us, and is truly a fitting way to honor the heroes and the victims of 9/11. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Daley.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah. At the meeting that Mike Bloomberg had in New York City with about 15 other mayors in regards to volunteerism, it was really interesting to hear their presentation and to hear collectively what we're doing here. And I'm very proud of the things that Chicago Cares and others have really adapted here in the city of Chicago. But also the cooperation in dealing with aviation, Midway and O'Hare Field, that is our boundaries are existing with suburban areas, and both fire and police and other emergencies work together through Ray Roscoe, Rosie Andolino, and others in regards to preparedness and any type of emergency in the area of Midway Airport and, of course, O'Hare International Airport, as well as Gary Airport, which is really important in getting all the agencies working together on behalf of preparedness and safety of our residents and first responders, as well as any incident that may take place in those areas.